Hurricane Beryl has made landfall near Matagorda, Texas. Good morning, I'm Mike Naso with this 5 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 a.m. Central Time update on our landfalling Hurricane Beryl. It has made its mark and its final destination along the Texas coastline, right over Matagorda Island, and areas impacted there include Port O'Connor, Texas, Sargent, Texas, and many, many other locations. And this is definitely a strengthening hurricane upon landfall. Look at the fanning out on the western side, the bursting deep convection, and when they are strengthening as they make landfall, those winds are very, very ferocious, even for a Category 1 hurricane. Now, here's the latest as of 4 a.m. Central Time on Hurricane Beryl. It's at 28.6 north, 96.0 west. That puts it over Matagorda, Texas. It has made landfall. Maximum sustained winds are 80 miles per hour. Now, I did two other updates. I did one at 11 p.m. Sunday night, 2 a.m. this morning, and now 5 a.m. And this system has strengthened as time has gone by. The pressure 979 millibars. It's moving north at 12 miles per hour, and that should continue to push it inland, and then it will weaken to a tropical storm later tonight, and then a tropical depression by tomorrow morning as it moves into Arkansas, and then eventually it should dissipate and not be a factor, although it could bring some wet weather to the Tennessee and Ohio valleys later on in the week. There is the latest radar, and the eye of the hurricane is right over Matagorda Bay. Right there is the center of the eye, so we have landfall. Landfall is when the center of a tropical cyclone crosses the coast, and that is what we have. Look at this heavy weather. Freeport, Bay City, Galveston. We have power outages. We have strong winds. We have storm surge water rises. It is really walloping the Texas coastline. Look at how it came together there. From the beginning of this loop, it was kind of ragged on the southern side. It was trying to close off the eye, and then compare it here to the end of the loop, a well-defined circulation of a strengthening Category 1 hurricane, the first hurricane to make landfall along the United States coastline of this hurricane season, which is predicted to be a very, very busy one. And while it doesn't mean a busy season means they'll hit land, it's not a good harbinger of things to come. There's where the center is based on the, we know, the aircraft data, the radar data, and the calm that people are experiencing in Matagorda, Texas. The eye is about 28 nautical miles wide, so everybody within that area is experiencing calm. And so it's going to come back around the backside of the hurricane. So if you see this update and you're in the eye of the hurricane, be ready for the backside, because even though you'll have the calm eye, you're going to get the other side of the hurricane. But again, Port O'Connor, Texas has been getting hammered. Sargent, Texas, Freeport. And if you're up in Houston, you guys are not far away from some impacts yourselves. Water level rises have been occurring 4 to 7 feet from Port O'Connor to St. Louis Pass, and then 4 to 6 feet all the way to the north in Galveston Bay towards High Island. We've seen some video footage from storm chasers of storm surge washing up all the way into the windshields of cars, and it's very, very dangerous. Don't be by the water. You could easily get swept out, especially with the crashing waves on top of that, wherever this onshore flow is pushing water in. So as the hurricane pushes in, that water is going to cause a lot of problems. In fact, here, let's look at some of these. This is Sargent, Texas. Look at the storm surge here. Look at that. The tide gauge water levels very, very dangerous. This one here is Matagorda. Look at the wind. Look at how the wind was blowing, and then boom, it dies off when they're in the eye. They're in the eye in Matagorda, and that's why we have the wind drop off like that. And then let's see the pressure. How low did it get? 980 millibars, made landfall 979 millibars. So this is the eye of the hurricane over Matagorda City, Texas, and that's why you're seeing the wind go down and the pressure go down. And then when the winds come back, when the eye passes, things are going to get nasty once again. And this is as of 5 a.m. Eastern Time, or 5:15 or so. Look at how that wind decreased once they got in the eye. It's just spectacular. We do have a tornado watch in effect With landfalling hurricanes, you always have that threat for severe weather, and that is no exception with Hurricane Beryl. We're going to have severe weather. This is a very solid right side of the hurricane, and that is a lot of heavy weather for Galveston, Houston, all the way up the Texas coastline, even western Louisiana getting in on some of the action there, so be cautious about severe weather. Flooding is going to be a concern. The rainfall is going to spread up. Now, the system will weaken, and so the rain gets less and less and less as it moves to the northeast. But down here in Texas, in particular, you guys could have at least 4, 6, 8 inches of rain. Hopefully, the system will be moving fast enough. It's not going to be like Hurricane Harvey back in 2017, where even though Harvey was a Category 4, this is a Category 1. After Harvey hit the coast of Rockport, it just kind of sat and spun for a few days and dropped historic amounts of rain. Nevertheless, there is the threat of flooding, at least a moderate risk, Houston to Fort Worth, this whole area here, and then a flood risk, a slight flood risk going all the way through Missouri and into Illinois, with rainfall spreading through Wednesday into Thursday. Here's another look at the radar out of Houston, and again, look at this. Galveston, Texas City, Pasadena, Baytown, Houston, you guys are getting into some heavy, heavy weather. This hurricane is packing a punch, and so everywhere here from Freeport all the way up the coast, Galveston Bay, you guys expect water rises, crashing waves, and very, very strong winds. And so those high rises in Houston need to be ready just in case the hurricane's right front quadrant goes over Houston and causes a lot of wind problems. So again, there's the eye of the storm. Bay City, you're in the northern section of the eye, the northern eye wall, and so you guys are just getting hammered there. And like I said, if you're in this 28-mile wide eye, it's calm, but the backside is coming for you, and the winds are going to switch around to the other direction, so it's going to be very, very dangerous. The key messages for Hurricane Beryl as of 4 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Eastern, Monday morning. Number 1, continuing danger of life-threatening storm surge inundation on the Texas coast, Mesquite Bay to Sabine Pass, including Matagorda Bay and Galveston Bay. Follow advice given by local officials. Stay away from the water. Number 2, those damaging hurricane-force winds. We still have the hurricane warning, obviously. Mesquite Bay to Port Boulevard. Again, a landfalling hurricane. They're in the hurricane warning. They're getting hurricane-force winds and very strong gusts. Number 3, flash and urban flooding expected today and tonight. That's going to spread up. A minor to isolated major river flooding also possible. And finally, rip currents. Very dangerous. Beachgoers should heed warning flags and lifeguard advice anywhere along the Gulf Coast because you'll have waves propagating from the surf from this hurricane. Derek Ort on Twitter made a good point that this hurricane is the 4th hurricane we've had in the month of July hitting the Texas coast in about the last quarter century, since the year 2000. We had Hurricane Claudette, July of 03, Port O'Connor, Texas, Category 1. Hurricane Dolly, July of 08, South Padre Island, Texas, Category 1. Hurricane Hannah, July 2020, Padre Island, Texas, Category 1. And now Hurricane Beryl, Matagorda, Texas, July 2024. All 4 of them were in July. All 4 of them were Category 1 hurricanes that were strengthening upon landfall for the most part. Dolly was kind of weakening a little. But they were all packing a punch. 2 of them hit Padre Island, and 2 of them hit near Matagorda. So you think, hey, if you, I did the math. I didn't do the math. The calculator did the math. But it averaged out to about once every 7 years or so. And if you go back, though, before Hurricane Claudette in July of 2003, the last July hurricane to hit the Texas coast was Hurricane Deborah in 1959. So there's no rhyme or reason, but you could sometimes see a pattern. And Texas, you do get hit often in the month of July, and you got to be ready for it. Again, there's Hurricane Beryl making landfall over Matagorda, Texas, impacting the Texas coastline. Winds of 80 miles per hour with gusts possibly over 100 miles an hour. Power outages, storm surge, crashing waves, a rainfall flood threat. Just a nasty punch to Texas from this long-tracked, rare July hurricane, devastating the Windward Islands as a Category 4, scraping Jamaica as a Category 4, slamming into the Yucatan Peninsula, and now slamming into the Texas coast. This has been one heck of a hurricane, and it's only the second storm of the year in early July in what is forecast to be a very, very busy Atlantic hurricane season. I'm Mike Naso with continuing video coverage of the landfall of Hurricane Beryl along the Texas coast. Stay tuned and batten down the hatches. This one's going to wall up Texas pretty good.